Hello and warm welcome. And we're going to do the final of the e-ink Euros. And this has been picked by you, which is why I'm so fascinated by it. And I also want to thank not just you guys for being here at the start of the live stream. Very warm welcome to you. No, Halid's not stealing this. I've invited Halid here as a special guest referee. It's Austria in the final of the Euros as well. And we've got, hello everyone from New Jersey as well. And yeah, who do you guess is going to be the referee? Might be someone from Austria. There you are. Well done. Red, you could say that wrong. My apologies. Red, I shall call you for short, I suppose. And warm welcome to you all. We're going to see the final today of the e-ink tablet European tournament. And unfortunately, I wish I could have started this just being really, really happy about England having won the final, but they didn't. I think they put up a good effort, actually. But they were beaten by the better team, which is more gracious than you probably get from a lot of England fans right now. Warm welcome to Halid, and we're also streaming on Halid's channel. So do you want to say hello to your folks on your channel and welcome me as well?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me and inviting me. Excited to compare the two tablets, and yeah, happy to see what's the outcome here.
Yeah, well, we've already got, let's have a little look already. A couple of people have jumped the gun a little bit and voted straight away on this. So if you go to the community page on my channel, you can see this live here. This is the vote here. 4 people actually already voted the Boox Go 10.3, but we're going to present to you and we're going to hear from you as well during today. And we're going to pick the winner, not from what we think, but from what you guys vote for. So before I actually do that, I want to just go over who actually won the previous one, because I did say that I'd leave the votes live until the next live stream, the next round. So the semi-finals were these two. Semi-finals was Supernote A5X, and I've put in brackets too, but really we're still going on the Supernote A5X. Seems to be still a very firm favorite amongst you. And, you know, I don't know, Halid, were you as surprised as I was how far this Supernote A5X got into the tournament?
I mean, you have it A5X and A5X2, so no. If it was only A5X, then yes. If it's A5X and A5X2, then no.
Yeah, good stuff. But you know, there's lots of other favorites, and I hope it's been useful for you guys to pick. And yeah, the great deal on the Prime Day on the Scribe. Last thing to do. The Scribe was £210, which is an incredible deal, really, isn't it? And I'm glad you're happy with Red. Red the cat, we'll call you. I'm excited for this final as well, and I'm excited because you threw up something that this wouldn't have happened if I'd picked all the winners each time. It wouldn't be these two going head to head, but these are two of the most kind of paper-like tablets that are out there right now. These are two keyboard tablets which are very much more like paper-like than the others. Now, clearly, you're all more interested in having something that complements your existing laptop or your iPad rather than replace it. And I've read that quite a lot as we've done these discussions, that people have been thinking, no, this e-ink tablet is not designed, in my mind anyway, that's what you've said to me, it's not designed to replace your iPad or your laptop. It's actually to complement it. It's designed to replace paper. And one interesting thing here, neither of these have got front lights. And actually, I don't know if you've been following Rants on Tech, Halid, but Roderick actually said, well, of course, these e-ink tablets, they didn't come about to solve the problem of paper not having a front light. That's not why they're there. You know, an e-reader didn't come about because they're like, well, this book is really annoying that it doesn't have a light on it. That's not the reason for them being. And actually, tech or anything, any product exists to solve a problem. And both of these two in the final don't have front lights. So you can see, though, they have crushed the color tablets there. They have absolutely crushed 6931. The Supernote A5X beat the Tab Mini C. So there we go. A tablet without a front light beating a full color with BSR. And once again, the Boox Go 10.3, Boox's latest tablet without a front light, 60-40 basically, 6 goals to 4, 59-41. And you can see therefore the Go 10.3 without a front light there, that has gone straight in and beaten the Note Air 3C, which of course is full color with a front light and with BSR. So, and quite, not neck and neck. The closest match, I don't know how much you followed this, Khalid, but the closest match was between the A5X and the Note Air 3, which was like 1 percentage point difference in it. So that was really, really tight. So people were clearly, you know, black and white. It's good enough for a lot of people. And that we've got, here we are with two black and white with no BSR, no fancy color e-ink, straight in, you know, classic black and white e-ink screens with great Wacom EMR tech and very much focused on the paper-like experience. So anything just to add before we dive into, and I'll just describe how this is going to work today. And you guys, let's say, go on to...
Not really. I mean, I'm not surprised that it was this close between the Go 10.3 and the, between the Supernote A5X and the Note Air 3, because, but yeah, exactly this one. Because I think they are in a similar space, and you can obviously do more with the Note Air 3, but still similar space. And now we ended up with, again, two similar devices.
Yeah, lots of dissimilarities as well, but yeah, similar in terms of the sort of the way that they're sold, at least, you know, the way they're marketed as these very paper-like experiences. So how is it going to work tonight? And Khalid's, because, you know, finals are going to get a bit cagey, aren't they? So we've got the extra adjudication, we've got the extra refereeing, but essentially what we've decided to do is I'm going to present my thoughts about them. I'm going to present some positives and negatives, let's say, just three things that I love about each one and three things that I don't love so much about each one. And then that's going to be the first half, and then Khalid's going to do the second half, and we'll get some comments and things as you go. Just fire into the chat as you go, everybody. Khalid's going to then come along and do the second half, three things that he loves and hates about each one, three pros, three cons about each one. And then I'm expecting this to go to extra time today, and maybe even penalties. So extra time will be your comments and your thoughts, anything that we miss, any questions you have, anything just to deepen the discussion, really. So we're going to fire on with that. I hope that's okay. Interesting one. I disagree with the A5X2 in this tourney, as we're then rating things that don't exist yet. Yeah, not saying that because I want my beloved Go 10.3 to win. And it looks like early sort of indications, you know, the first goals of this so far are looking like they are going towards the Go 10.3. You see that 3/4 of the votes so far. Still only 12 votes though, and we're hoping to get up to the hundreds. It's going to be decided tonight as well, like a true final, like true knockout football. It's going to be decided on the night. So go ahead and vote in that in my community tab on my channel. I'll just refresh that just to see exactly the most up to date. Yeah, it's still looking about or slightly more towards the Go 10.3. So yeah, it's not really, I think, Lizzie, you're right. I'm not really thinking that it's the A5X2, but I had thought we might know a little bit more about the A5X2 at this point. And I think because you can't buy the A5X right now, I think that's why I included that in there as well. Go 10.3 because the Boox ecosystem allows for syncing PDFs and notes across devices. Yes, it does. And I think that both devices are excellent. Yeah, I think they do. I think they are both excellent. And well, it's up to you today to decide which one you think is the most excellent. So I'm going to fire on with my three loves and three hates from those ones then. And I'm starting, I think I'll do the three things that I love about Boox, the three things I love about the Rata, three cons and three pros over here. So first of all, the three things I love about the Boox are the clarity and the contrast of the screen. I think the thing about the black and white e-ink is you get that better contrast. And I think that because it's a 300 DPI screen, I think you also get a better clarity of the screen. And actually, sometimes with a paper feeling e-ink screen with the kind of layer on top that gives it that more frictiony, more matte kind of feel, sometimes you lose a bit of the clarity. And I don't feel that's been the case with this one here. I think it is really tack sharp. It is really, really nice. And by the way, I meant to mention this at the start, but I've been really enjoying Khalid's reviews recently. He always does a good job, but especially the Boox Go 10.3 review was really, really informative because of the way you put, I think you put 4 different tablets with black and white ink screens all up next to each other. And yeah, you really went in depth with the screen, which I thought was absolutely fabulous. So good on you. And also the other A6X2, I think you released as well just recently. And I thought that was fabulous as well. Your reviews of those. So yeah, the clarity and the contrast of the screen, I think, is absolutely brilliant. Another thing that I love about the Go 10.3, and it's a thing about Boox really, is I love the word processing on it. I love the fact that you can go into your own cloud, your own word processing apps, and you can go ahead and you can do all of the word processing on there. So actually, I've been working on a bit of, I'm not going to show you, I'm going to reveal all the pros and cons yet, but there they are. You see, I can go into all of my notes in docs here, and this is a book that I'm writing, and I'm just doing it here on my e-ink tablets. And although I could start bits of writing over here, I really find it just really nice that I can work here in Google Docs or in Word, should I choose, and I can get all of the sort of grammar suggestions, spelling, I can format it, and I can work really well on that. And the third thing that I really love about it is that I can use the Boox keyboard, which actually I think the Boox keyboard is really good, except for at times it does get in the way a little bit of the UI in some apps. But you can see I've got lots of different options with the Boox keyboard. I can either use the microphone and use the voice recognition, or what I have been doing mostly is I have been using the pen to do the handwriting recognition on a document like this. So if I go ahead and just make a new one, I managed to skip out of that there. Stage fright in a live stream Boox. I'll clear the memory and open that one again. And this will, when I say something that I don't like so much about the Go 10.3, you maybe see why. But in the Boox keyboard, I can use the voice recognition, which is very good. So I can work between typing with the voice recognition and then tidy it up if there's anything that needs to be tidied up, although it is pretty accurate in real time at actually processing the words and getting them right. You certainly can't do that on the A5X, and you won't be able to do it on the A5X2 either. You know, even getting things like A5X2 and A5X accurate. And then also the handwriting recognition. I really love that as well. And I'm using a word processor and writing line by line with the handwriting recognition just as the keyboard input. So I'm not having to sort of let it do the whole document and then come back to it. I'm doing it line by line. I think that's really nice. It's a nice way to use the Wacom EMR. So they're my 3 things that I love about the Boox: clarity and contrast of the screen, word processing, and using the voice recognition and the handwriting in the keyboard. With the Ratter Supernote, my first thing that I love about it at the minute, I'm absolutely loving the drawing app. I think that's brilliant that they've brought this into their ecosystem. I've talked about this a lot, but I just think for anyone who's a bit serious about drawing, then I think this is a bit of a no-brainer, really, that this app is the one to go for. I love just, you know, I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting a full range of the different grades of pencil. So you can get nice dark pencil strokes and you can do nice light ones. So if you're used to working with pencil, these work really nicely. You can do your light strokes first and work through to the heavier strokes. You can then also add another layer, and I tend to do a tonal layer then with different types of spray can you can use, which give a nice texture. to your drawing, and then also inking on top of that. And you can do them all on separate layers if you wish to do that. I think there's still a way to go with that drawing app, and I think they could bring things like pencil tilt with the pencil tools to be able to do a bit more shading, a bit more realistic shading. But I love where this has started, and it's already my personal favorite place to be drawing, and you could see that in some of the drawings that I've made on there. And I also do, although I've said that I do like the fact that you can write into a full word processor on the books, I do like the fact that you get real-time recognition on your Supernote, and I think this is excellent. Now, so essentially in a real-time recognition notepad, everything that I write is being converted in the background. So I don't have to say, go ahead and convert that. I just click on the little recognition icon, and it's already there. So even once you've got 3 pages on, you just click that, and it's already there for you to check. It's already there for you to edit, and then you can export that in a multitude of different ways. So that's quite nice. So I said I wouldn't want to work through an entire book using that real-time recognition, but to get a bit of work started, like a lot of what I've been working on here, actually, in this document I showed you, the book that I'm working on at the minute, a lot of what I'm working on actually began in this journal, this file that I've just opened here. And I then exported that down from the Supernote cloud, and I put that into Google Docs, and it's allowed me then to work and edit it on it as well. I will say though, we have one issue with that, which is that it's come through in these lines by line like this, and it isn't reflowed, even though sort of this sentence continues onto a different line, and then there's an enter, there's a space, there's a line break there actually in the copied text, which is a bit frustrating. Okay, those are 2 of my loves of it. I like the drawing app and I like the real-time recognition. But what I really think about it, what I really love about it is it's just this bespoke software experience. This software experience, they respond to the needs and the wants of their customers. So what I'm really thinking, what they're really nice is that they do, for instance, their customers, they ask them for a to-do list app, and they brought it. They worked on it with them, they released it into beta, and they brought this to-do list app so that anywhere that you are in any notebook that you like, it all starts from the notebook, it all starts from any one of your notebooks, the table of contents and the star marks and the keywords, and now you can add the to-do list items from the notebook. So you can select something and make it a to-do list item from here. It will recognize the handwriting and it will make it a to-do list item with any date that you choose to. And now it's there as something you can tick off here in your to-do list. So, and that to-do list is global to the whole device. So I think that those things, if you are looking for a dedicated e-reader, if you're looking for a dedicated planner, a dedicated notebook, those items are real high quality of life items, really useful there. So those are my things that I really like about the 2, and we'll maybe summarize them just towards the end. But the things that I'm not so keen on, then going back over here, the case is a constant annoyance. I think we've complained about this case enough, but it is a constant annoyance. Like this flappy thing, it's constantly getting clipped together, and you're constantly sitting on the side, or it's constantly interfering with the handwriting as you're going. It's just not really. I see why they've tried to do it, but they should just, everyone liked the previous case, the Note A3 case, so they should have just copied that. Given us different colors and textures, sure, but they should have just copied that. So the case is annoying. And then it's just that it's not the Tab Ultra C Pro. And I know we're comparing these 2 devices, and I know that you guys have picked the very much not Tab Ultra C Pros, but because this device with its BSR and its keyboard is just so much better for using apps like Google Docs, then that frustrates me about the Boox Go 10.3. That's quite a personal thing, I think. But for me, not having the BSR, not having the color for using the app, and as you can tell, I live and use a lot of those the word processing apps. I use both Google Docs at times, and I use Word. And even on here, I was getting into using PowerPoint quite a bit as well, and Excel quite a bit as well. I haven't touched those at all on here because it's just certain things where you have color just makes that difference. Like formatting cells in Excel, certain things on those, the color is just worth having. So because it's got no color, it's got no BSR, it's got no keyboard, I actually do find for my personal use case, that's less than ideal. It's not what that device is about though. So it's like I'm complaining about something for a purposeful decision. They've decided to leave all those things out. So it's a bit of an invalid criticism of this particular device, but that's my experience of it. Why do I get annoyed with this occasionally? Because that forces me back to using my laptop or my iPad or other tablets like that. And the other frustration is there are still times where you get into muddles with the software. There are still times where you think, why did you do it like that, Boox? Why is that menu all the way buried away somewhere there? Why is it that they're so forked in terms of you got the notes style home page, the note style operating system, and you've got the tab style operating system. You know, I swipe down here on this tablet and expect to find the settings there because that's where it is on the tab devices, and they're not there. They're there. Okay, and then I go into here looking for settings. I think, well, where's all the settings to do with my apps? And then I remember that no, the app settings are in this one over here. So it's just, you know, it's just a bit of frustration every now and then with the software. And you even saw that this tablet was struggling, got into some, I don't know what issue it was, but had some issue with Google Docs where it wasn't opening and that was just crashing out every single time. It's not the only Android tablet to have issues with certain apps in that way, but that's a bit frustrating as well. Might be because it's got a lower power chip than the higher powered ones, maybe the tab devices, but I would say that is a con. You still run into muddles with the software at times. Moving over to things I don't like so much about the Supernote A5X, of course, it's the older chipset, and that does make it occasionally a little bit sluggish to get around. You know, it just feels like little half presses, little things just take that little bit longer maybe to load. Maybe when you're typing on the on-screen keyboard to do something, it's just that little bit not as, people say, snappy, not as responsive as you're maybe used to when you're doing all those things. So I would say that that is a thing. The fact that the older chipset, of course, that's going to be replaced with the newer model. The fact that when you're writing on here, it's not a full word processor. It's not full Word. It's not Google Docs. You can make documents on here. So if you go to a new file, you can write sort of, you know, they're called, they come through as .docx files. They are docx, I think, aren't they, when you make a document? I don't do it from new note, do I? How do I make a brand new document in this? Yeah, up here, there we go. So we've got a Word document here. So it does have a sort of word processor, which does have a handwriting recognition keyboard. You can see my previous complaint about it being a little bit sluggish at times. There we are, I've done it. It's not docx, it's .doc. And I can now use a handwriting recognition keyboard. I'm not sure how to bring that back because I haven't done it in such a time. There it is in keyboards, isn't it? There we go. So you can work. You can work with handwriting. And it will convert that, will it? we go. But it just, you know, as you can see, it's accurate. But of course, you're having the issue where you haven't got all of the access to all the formatting and everything, all the niceties of a proper word processing app. So it's not a full word processor. It's something that I find quite frustrating. And then lastly, as I said when I was talking about the real-time recognition, it doesn't come through in sort of reflowed lines. It comes through line by line. So when you take this off the Supernote cloud and you actually go ahead and sort of export that, you get this where it's, you know, a bit like copying out of a PDF sometimes. The formatting is not the way you sort of expect it to be. So it's not ideal. That's a bit of a frustrating as well. So it actually takes quite a bit of time to sort of re-edit that, because you just have to go through every single line and delete the enter. So delete the paragraph. So that is a bit frustrating as well. So those are my 3 loves and 3 hates of these 2 devices. Yeah, I'm going to sort of pass it over to you for just a moment, audience, because I would love to hear what you guys think about any and all of those. Got them just here. Look, the clarity and contrast of the screen. Love that about the books. Word processing, the handwriting, on voice recognition of parts of the keyboard in the Boox Go 10.3. The Supernote, though, I love the drawing app. Absolutely fabulous there. The real-time recognition is very good. It's very accurate. It's great that it's there and it happens in the background. And the fact that the bespoke software really does respond to what people actually want from their device. And then with the books, I really don't like the case. I really don't like that it's not the Tab Ultra C Pro, but it's got a lot of benefits, of course, on top of that as well. So I'm complaining about it being a paper-like tablet, essentially. And the software still has its kinks, its problems. And the RATA, things I don't like about the A5X2, or the A5X rather, it's an older chipset. I don't think the A5X2 is going to have the world's most powerful chipset, incidentally, as well. Sometimes a bit sluggish. It's not full Word. It's not full Docs app, and the real-time recognition doesn't come through in an easily editable form. Okay, so that's the end of the first half. Whew, a lot in that one. Let's have a little look what people have said in here. This one always comes up, doesn't it? But scroll down on my community tab and go to what's he called? It's Tools for Tech. Great video. Did you see that one, Khalid?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's a really good video. Something that you and I have talked about offline quite a bit, is the sort of how often do they phone home? And he looked for it, and it was sending the only time it communicated anywhere out of wherever you set the server to was like 6 kilobytes or something like that, which was just like, hey, have you got an update? No updates today. That's all it probably was. It was very, very small amounts of data, so nothing to fear, I don't think, on that one. Glad to have you here, Vladimir. We're just reorganizing another live stream with Vladimir in the near future. And yeah, interesting to see where the votes have gone so far as well. The Go 10.3 is the first Boox device that has a very professional look and feel from a hardware perspective. Yeah, I think they've been sort of drifting towards a more professional look and feel ever since the Note Air 2 Plus, which for me got rid of the kind of brash blue and brought a kind of a nicer professional feel. But I agree, it's a really nice, you know, it is now the type of device that other professionals in meetings, they go, ooh, when you pull it out. It really is. But the Supernote has always been that. It's always been that, that's the real deal when you pull that out, especially with its accessories. Thanks, Fezzo. I'll just try and watch it because I also want to bring things closer as well, but I understand the autofocus isn't perfect on this camera. Should be, it's good enough. Clean white, yeah. I like the clean white. You like this design, Khalid?
Design of the case, you mean?
Not just the case, the whole thing. I think just the
whole thing. Yeah, obviously it's incredible. I love how thin it is, and generally it's really well made. I think my only complaint was this this stripe on the back.
Funny rail, yeah.
I don't like the feel of it. But other than that, it's pretty incredible. I think that did a really great job with it.
Yeah, I think Voya wondered whether that little plastic strip had to be there for the Wi-Fi antenna.
Yeah, possibly.
Possibly. But then they put that same onto the Go 7. It's not actually a different material, but it does have this kind of like mark on the back. So I wonder if it's something that they're going for to sort of delineate this Go series as well. Who knows with that one? It's a great design. It really is a good design.
Yeah. Definitely.
Just got this one today. Very excited. Mainly for note taking and viewing PDFs and presentations for uni. It will be fabulous for that. Absolutely fabulous. Yeah. And I think the fact that you can treat it like a notebook in that you won't need to charge it absolutely every sort of day. That's brilliant. And the A5X certainly has a great battery life as well. In fact, I think of all the devices that I've been using in this whole Euros 2024, this is one of the few that I haven't had to charge during the sort of tournament, really. So that's something to say for it. Although I have been daily driving this one at the same time, so it's not totally fair. Yeah, the A5X2 is going to have the same motherboard and chipset as the Nomad, absolutely. But even that won't be quite up to the level of the Go 10.3 or some of the other e-ink tablets that are out there today. But still, yeah, it is going to be obviously a much improved chipset coming. Yeah, yeah, live stream. I'm glad to have you here. Absolutely, yeah. The pen for books is pretty mid. Yeah, exactly. Agreed. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and that's nice that you've got the option now as well. And yeah, other people don't care for that one as well. And you're having admiration for your Star Trek background there, my man.
Thanks.
Yeah. And then lastly, before we get started with the second half, so Khalid, I want you to make sure that there's an end change, please, for the second half. Can you make sure they're the other way around? I think they are automatically on your desk, actually. Yeah. Yeah. So you've got your Supernote on the left.
My Supernote, yeah.
Yeah. So what's the chances Boox release a newer Note SC model later this year? I think they will. Yeah. I think that they will definitely do that. I don't know whether they'll do a Note SC. I think the next device coming from Boox at this size will be a Note Air 3 Plus, and I think that will have a bigger battery, 300 dpi screen, and I think it will have BSR as well, as you say, hopefully with some improvement to the way the BSR performs for battery performance. So yeah, you just need to switch them around, please. So it's the change of ends, so that Boox is shooting the other way.
Sorry, is it mirrored?
You don't need to do that. Yes, that's fine. Okay, over to you for your second.
Yeah, then I will talk about my 3 likes and dislikes about each device, and I think you already had a great few points, and I will just add to one of your cons as a pro on the Go 10.3, which is Android. So one thing that's definitely great with Android is versatility of the Go 10.3. It's obviously not made for the e-ink screen, but still Boox did an incredible job with optimizing it for the e-ink screen. And I think that works incredibly well. Let's put this one aside for a second. That works incredibly well, even for apps that are not optimized. You notice here and there that it's not perfect. And that's what you mentioned with some apps. You just see that they are not meant to be used on an e-ink screen. But it's adding so much freedom to how to use the device. And I think that's one of the main benefits on having Android on here. So you can try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, you can tinker a bit with the ink settings. And if that doesn't work, which is rarely the case in my opinion, then it just doesn't work. But you have the option to try, and that's great. And I love that about Boox in general, but also about the Boox Go 10.3. So even when an app is not optimized, like I said, like the Kindle app, for example, it works pretty well. So you have the different viewing modes, and the tablet is set up in a way that it automatically switches to one of the faster modes if you drag and hold and drag the screen. So that's incredibly well done. And it's not just Android that gives this versatility, but the rest of the user interface as well. So you can load your own ebooks and use it with the Neo reader, which works incredibly well, gives a lot of options. It's not as well optimized maybe as some e-readers, but still gives many options. Or you can use the Kindle app for your ebooks. So that's an option you also have on the Supernote, but it's not working as well, and it's not as refined as on the Boox. So let me see my notes here. Another thing that came up in the comment before is PDF functionality. So adding to the versatility, let's go to the library to open up a PDF file. I think that's the best PDF experience you can get right now in the ink space, and not only in the ink space, but also on an LCD tablet. Zooming, pinch to zoom is not working as well as on an LCD tablet, but you have the incredible viewing modes here with the columns mode, and you can switch to a columns mode and just jump from segment to segment. And I think that's an incredible option to have for scientific papers, for university, and so on. So I love that. My second pro of the Boox Go 10.3 is battery life. So I tested it with a drain of only 1% per hour, which adds up to a runtime of 100 hours. So on a single charge. So that's pretty incredible. Obviously, it can be shorter if you use Android apps, for example, or if you use some larger complex PDF files. But still, that helps. At least it helped me to remember what e-ink is all about. It's not, as you said, it's not that it can replace your tablet, but it's complementary to a tablet. And using it as
when you tested that, did you have the Wi-Fi on?
Yes.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, I mean, it's a good point. It depends on many factors. So for example, if Wi-Fi connection isn't good, it draws more energy. If you're using different Android apps, or if you have Android apps running in the background, for example, that can also drain more energy. I also tested it with different text styling options. So I zoomed in a bit on the text and I made the text larger, which also drew more energy, just turning pages, than using the default settings. So there is a bit of variance to it, but still it's one of the best battery lives I have tested on an e-ink tablet in the recent past. And I think that's incredible on here as
that's
well.
That was mainly reading.
Yeah, it's reading. I didn't test the writing battery life because that's much harder to systematically test. So I use a capacitive touch input device that I put on the screen, and I just let it run for hours on end, and then see how much battery it drained. And that's much harder, obviously, with the Wacom pen. But usually, I'd say battery drain with writing is about a third of. So you get a third of battery life compared to just reading. So give or take.
Cool. Yeah, great battery life. Yeah, I'm certainly benefiting that right now because it's the one that comes back and forward to work with me at the moment, and I'm certainly enjoying the battery life and not just generally having to charge it at the weekend, basically, and it goes a week.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, and my third point I love about the tablet is screen clarity. You already talked about it, and I tested it on obviously just using it, you can see it that it's a perfectly readable screen. But also looking at it with close-up shots and under the microscope, you can see this screen is incredibly crisp. Not only because of the Encarta 1200 screen with great contrast levels, but also because it's so incredibly, it has an incredibly low display stack. So that's what I called it in my review. And what I'm talking about is that there is no frontlit layer. So the ink screen or the ink pixels are much closer to the surface of the device. And so it feels much more like paper than, for example, a Kindle Scribe, which still is a great experience in my opinion, but this one is more paper-like. And that's really great. You can see, if you look very closely, you can see the touchscreen grid on the Boox Go 10.3, but that's not something I think many people will care about. It's almost invisible during normal use, but still, just mentioning it. And that's it. I think that's really great screen and one of the best paper-like experiences you can get right now.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Top 3 on the Ratter.
Sorry.
So top 3 on the Ratter then. Things you love about the Ratter next. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to go with the cons first.
Okay. Yeah. Fire on.
On my note. So let's go with my dislikes. And on the very top of my list is the pen attachment. So I think this is the weakest one I've tested yet on any ink tablet. It still holds if you just put it on here and put it on the desk. That still works. But if you carry it around, just one quick thumb movement and it's off the device.
And I don't know whether
I
don't know whether you guys in the audience are thinking, well, but surely you've got the case that holds it to it. But actually, even then, you can see whenever you take this off, you kind of really easily knock it off. Yes. Even when I put it on, sometimes I knock the pen off. And even now when I put it in my bag, it's so easy to sort of accidentally push that up or down that it slides off. You know, it is an issue.
Yeah, it's definitely. And I'm actually surprised they made it this way, to be honest. I mean, it's better than not having it, because on the Supernote you can't even do that. So you have it on the cover, the pen loop. So that's a difference. That's still noteworthy.
I had somebody say that it's stronger if you have it like pointing upwards, so nib upwards and nearer the top. And I think that's true. It is stronger, but it's still not strong enough.
Yeah, I'm surprised, because with the Ultra, with the Tab Ultra devices in general, it's much stronger, to the point where it's maybe even a bit too strong. Not that it really mattered, in my opinion, in everyday use, but much stronger than on this one, and also on the Note Air 2, where it was also not especially strong.
Yeah, and they did fix it on the Note Air 2 Plus. So try that. Try pointing the nib upwards,
like
and
this.
try putting a little bit higher up than normal. And there is a point. Now try shaking it.
Yeah, that's a bit better. Yeah, that's true.
But why is that different to every other Boox device? And it's still not perfect.
Yeah, I'm not. Is that by design, or is that just?
I have no idea. I haven't seen. I haven't seen any sort of official pictures with it placed like that. You know. So.
But yeah, it's better. That's true. Yeah, but what I wanted to add is, if you use the case, it's also a bit better. So the case, I don't know if you can see that the case is a bit overlapping with the pen, and it's holding it in place just a bit. And now sudden movements don't easily drop it. So that's a bit better, definitely. And
the images, the marketing images, all have it pointed nib down. So it certainly isn't intentionally that it's stronger pointing upwards. So.
Yeah, and with the strap, obviously you can at least use it for transporting it in a bag, so that works better than not having it. At least, but again, so you see, I just remove the strap and it falls off. Okay, yeah. I think that's my biggest annoyance actually with the tablet, and that might actually go a bit into nitpicky territory, but still, it's something that bothered me during use with it.
Yeah, and if that's the worst thing about the tablet, you know, then
yeah, definitely
they're doing something's right, aren't they?
So the next thing that I dislike about it is palm rejection. That's a bit of a hit and miss. Sometimes it works without any issues, or sometimes I don't have any issues. And sometimes just putting my palm down will trigger a page turn, like you just saw. So especially with PDF files, especially when I'm annotating PDF files, it's happening. Not so much with notebooks, but here it happens quite often. Using it more frequently, I noticed I maybe do some unconscious movements that it doesn't happen as frequently, but still it happens more than, for example, on a Kindle Scribe, which has incredibly well done palm rejection. So that's something I don't like about it, but you can disable touch input, which helps a bit with that. So you can work around it. And it's not always an issue, to be fair, but that's something that definitely could be better, in my opinion. And the last point on my con list, which is actually one of the talking points you mentioned in the beginning, and that's the missing front light. So in my opinion, it's not an issue if you see it as a note-taking tablet. For note-taking, usually you're using it in a well-lit room. So I'm not taking my notes in the darkness. But if you're taking versatility into account and use it as an Android tablet, it can be a bit limiting, in my opinion, because you have to have ambient light. I think it's not black and white. It's not great to have no front light, but it's also not a problem all of the time to have none. So you can compromise. You can just turn on your desk lamp or your nightstand lamp and use the tablet like usual. But still, it's something I prefer on an e-ink tablet, and that's why I'm not surprised that the Note Air 3 and the Supernote A5X was so close together in your previous match. I think those devices are actually pretty close, same as with the Go 10.3. But with the added front light, it just has a bit of extra flexibility that the Boox Go 10.3 misses. Again, it's not a big deal, especially you can work around it, but I personally prefer having a front light, even though the paper-like experience here is unmatched. That has to be said. And that's it with my cons.
It's definitely a trade-off, isn't it? That front light versus paper-like.
Yes, definitely.
I think it's a personal choice there. What do you think you're going to prefer, and go with that? You know, just decide. Yeah. Can you see yourself using your note-taking tablet? Do you need to use it as a reader?
I showed in my review. Sorry, didn't want to.
Yeah,
one of the things I showed in my review was how the close the pen tip was to the e-ink pixels, and that you can see very well that this is pretty much spot on the e-ink pixels. And when looking on the Kindle Scribe, you can see there's a tiny bit of room, of distance between the pen tip, and the ink pixels. So this is definitely more paper-like experience. And like you said, it's a trade-off, and you have to just decide if it's worth it or not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful that as the iterations go along, that there won't be so much of a trade-off there, and actually the front light layer will become thinner. But there is a certain, to do the kind of lensing to make it have side LEDs firing in from the side and then be reflected down into the screen and then reflected back up again. You need a certain amount of thickness. You need, of course you do. But if you look back at a device from, 5 years ago that had a front light, the gap is a lot larger than it is now with a front light device. So you can hopefully see there's going to be a direction of travel. And in general day-to-day use, you don't, I think as well, you can see these and notice these things when you're comparing them side by side, but you don't, when you've got one tablet that you use all the time, it isn't like, "Oh, I wish this had a smaller gap between the top of the surface and the screen." You don't think like that. You just enjoy it. And actually, as we are comparing these two devices today, neither of these have the front light, and there is actually, this being the older screen, the Supernote on the screen now being the older screen technology, actually has a bigger gap between the very top layer and the e-ink than the Boox does. And when the newer Supernote comes out, it will probably have the same gap, because it will have the same on-cell technology where they've managed to laminate together the capacitive digitizer and the e-ink screen, so that they've eliminated one layer by putting that digitizer, which is the grid which detects touch. Essentially, they put that within the same layer as the e-ink, so that already is getting closer. So gradually these things will get better. I think especially as well, as we see etched glass improve and doing more kind of micro lensing and doing maybe more of what the kind of next paper tablets that you've looked at and the Lenovo P12 Matte that I've looked at, which actually really does a good job of making it look like the surface is where the light is in that case. And giving you more like a paper-like look. So these things are just getting better and better, and you'll have less to decide between in the future, I imagine.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Cool.
Okay, so about the pros of the A5X and also a bit about my expectations for the A5X2. So I think those go hand in hand a bit. So what I really love about the A5X, and I have been using the A6X2 as my daily driver for a couple of months now, and it's essentially the same here. It's a really focused note-taking device and a no compromise device, essentially. So while I love the versatility of the Boox Go 10.3, I also love that this is so especially focused on note-taking. And as you said, Rata is developing the software with its users, and it's very open about it with a public roadmap, and you can look at it, and you can even discuss and add points to it. And the whole experience just shows that dedication for note-taking. And I think that works incredibly well on Supernote in general, on the A5X and on the A5X2, I suppose. It will be the same. It still takes a bit of time getting into the UI, in my opinion. So it's not super easy to use, I'd say, but it's easier than Boox in some aspects. But because, like you also said, Boox just has a couple of sub menus and nested menus in some places where it gets a bit harder to understand what's actually the point of the menu or the point of the navigation item without trying it. That's less of an issue here, in my opinion. It's very clear. But for example, with the gestures and with the unique ways of navigating through the device, it's a bit more difficult, maybe as for example, Remarkable or Kindle Scribe, in my opinion. But still, Still, this is a pro. This focus and minimalist approach on note taking is definitely something I love about it. The second thing that I think is a bit underrated on the Supernote A5X especially is writing with the pen so that the soft touch film essentially. So this one is the FeelWrite 1 film on here. And I actually really like it. It's really gliding smoothly over the surface. And that's a feeling I don't have on other tablets, essentially. Maybe what comes close are the Tab Ultra devices with the smooth surface, but still feel a bit different. I really love this about the Supernote A5X. The FeelWrite 2 film on the A5 or A5X2 in the future and A6X2 right now is also nice. Just one thing, if you get one and it's a bit sticky, you have to use it. That stickiness disappears after a while. That's something I didn't like in the beginning, and luckily that goes away. And it's also after that stickiness disappears, it's also easy to use and also very nice to write on. So the writing feel on here is actually pretty nice, and also the ceramic pen tip. So that's a very unique approach, and essentially you don't have to replace it. So that's something that you have to do on regular Wacom pens. So you have to pull this one out after a while. That's something you don't have to do here. So that's also great.
So it's a really interesting point you raised. I think there's a bit of an interesting sort of further debate on this, really, because I mean, what are we developing here? What are they developing? Are they developing something to match paper, or are they developing the best writing feel for an actual digital tablet? And I think really we should start thinking more about the latter, because I really like that writing feel as well. And I agree, I like the smoother feel on the tab devices than I do the bumpy feel on the other device. And I think, you know, it comes down to preference, really. But it's not just about it imitating paper, but it's about being the best writing feel that we've got. Now, if you think about this, I noticed on these websites that review all of the latest Android things, and there's another company that are bringing haptic feedback into their stylus. Okay, so they think that what we want is a stylus that shakes when you write. Now, that's not the aim, is it? Nobody thinks, oh, I wish somebody would put a vibrator into my fountain pen. You know, this is ridiculous, isn't it? You buy the most beautiful fountain pen gliding across the cartridge paper. You're not thinking to yourself, I wish this would vibrate a bit more. You're really enjoying the fine precision of the thing. And the reason we need a bit of friction when we write is because then our pen nib doesn't slip off the page, and we can control it more. And this feel really gives you lots and lots of control. It's a bit of an odd feel, the Supernote feel, in my if you're coming from paper and expecting it to feel like paper. And I think the Feel Right 2 does feel more like what you're used to eventually once you get past the stickiness, as Khalid says. But I think that actually what's better, what you're looking for, is the best writing feel, full stop, not the most paper-like writing feel. And I think actually also the right balance between clarity of the screen and the grip, the friction between the pencil and screen. And we don't want, I'm not after something that sounds like anything. I'm not after something that vibrates while I write. You know, so we've got these tablets that are imitating the writing feel of paper by having the speakers of the tablet play a little scratchy sound when you write on it, and have the pencil vibrate. I mean, that is the most ridiculous. Like what somebody said, I think, Carl, it's one of your statements. You often say it's a solution looking for a problem, that, isn't it? Like, oh, we can put a little haptic motor in the pen. Like, so what? Like, that's not something we needed.
No, definitely not.
I don't know as well. Why don't Rata offer you the option? You know, I think that would actually I think that would be a good thing to have. Is just like say, I know you can upgrade this current A5X with the Feel-Right now, Feel-Right 2. So you have essentially got the option in this generation. But why not just make it one of the checklist items? I mean, maybe it would just put up their manufacturing cost or something. But I think that'd be quite a cool thing to do, just to say, you know, what's your preference? Do you prefer more like a frictiony, scratchy, sort of felt feel, or do you want to have a more like a fountain pen smooth feel? And I think that would be quite a nice thing to do. Give just a few more options, and I think Boox could capitalize on that. Really, just ask you what type of nibs do you want in the box, what type of screen top surface do you want to have, and then it becomes that bit more bespoke to you and a bit more like, no, I like this feel, I like that. And I'd say in order, I always think the Supernote feels more like a ballpoint pen. The Boox tablets feel more like felt, and the majority of them feel more like a felt tip, which I don't really like that feel much. And then the Remarkable feels a bit more like a pencil. And I think really the first Remarkable felt loads like a pencil on the paper as well, which I really like that initial one. But so like, you know, just give you a bit more choice, please, e-ink tablet companies. Give your customers the choice of what feel they like, rather than it be like ours feels like paper, ours is scratchy. And please don't ever put haptic motors in your Wacom EMR styluses. It's just the wrong thing.
Okay, I will just continue with the last few points here. So the last, let's turn this on again. So my last pro with the Supernote is actually just adding to the focus of the note taking, of the whole note taking experience. So Boox is one of the companies. So Boox is essentially the only company that's just firing device after device. You get so many different options, which is great, and I love it. And you always get an improved version of the last one. So that's actually something I really like. But there's a different. You can view that differently as well. So I really like about Supernote that they are approaching this with sustainability in mind. So they only release a new tablet and new hardware if it makes sense from a user experience perspective. If there are some improvements, they can capitalize essentially with the 300 ppi on the Supernote A6X2 or A5X2. That's definitely an improvement compared to this generation. But they are not releasing device after device after device. And that sustainability approach I really, really like here. So for the one thing, you don't have the feeling that you're missing out on something. If Boox releases a new device, at least I get the feeling sometimes, hey, I want to have this new device. I want to try it. This doesn't happen here, in my opinion. And the second reason, and that's actually for the second reason, because Rata is improving the software continuously. So I have much more faith in Rata improving the software over a couple of years even than Boox is doing it. Not because Boox doesn't want to do it, but because Boox has so many different devices on the market that it's more difficult to do it. And you can tell. So for example, one of the things I don't like about the Boox device is in the note-taking app. Let's open this one. The labels are cut off by the bezel. So if you look closely here, the T is cut off, the C is cut off. That's something, I mean, it's not the end of the world, and it might be a bit nitpicking because you can also hide the labels. So it's not influencing usability. but still it shows that refinement is missing a bit. And that's something you don't, or at least I don't, I haven't experienced with the Supernote A5X or A6X2, because it's improved with on the software level more than releasing hardware after hardware after hardware. So that's something I really, really like about Supernote's approach. Okay, so what I don't like about the Supernote A5X is it doesn't have a home screen. I know this is controversial, and there has been a bit of discussion going on in the comments of my A6X2 long-term review, where I also made that point. And I get that this is meant as a replacement for a notebook, and the notebook doesn't, an analog notebook. And an analog notebook doesn't have a home screen. You just open it and you start writing. I get it. But still, this is not analog, and having a home screen adds to having a better overview, in my opinion. I know, again, people will disagree with me on that, and that's okay. So if you like that approach, that's totally fine. I personally would like to have, additionally to that option with the menu, a home screen. I think that one works well for what it is, and in my opinion, that works well as a task switcher. So to switch from your last open document back to your note, that works pretty well, and you can have quick access items here. You can start your apps. But still, having a home screen where you have an overview of everything, essentially a content hub for everything, I think that's missing here, to be honest. So that's the one thing I don't like about the UI, essentially. Hopefully, I think that's on the agenda. When looking on the roadmap, there is a point for a home screen, but I'm not sure if this is actively worked on right now.
Yeah, I can imagine it having the to-do list items, you know, or to do that day if you've calendared them out. You know, you could have your memos and actions for that day from your calendar. You could have a little bit of your digest. Maybe you could throw in one randomized quote from your digest every time you do a new home screen, just to, oh yeah, that was that cool thing I was thinking. There's loads of things, and they could give you a bit of customization from that. Yeah, it's an interesting point.
I mean, you can work around it at least a bit. You can. So what people commented was to create a dedicated notebook that serves essentially as a hub for the document you have on here, and link the documents with the linking function. So that's definitely a way to work around that. But still, I would love, as you said, to have different widgets, for example. Not a full-blown tablet experience, Android tablet experience, but still having a home screen as a central hub would be great, in my opinion. So the second thing I don't like as much is the EPUB and PDF function, and also the Kindle app, essentially. So it's great to have the option to have the Kindle app on here, and I'm actually not sure if I have used this on the Supernote A5X, but on the A6X2 definitely. But you can tell this is not what it's supposed to do. This is a note-taking device and not a reading device, and especially it's not an Android device that's meant for running apps. So, for example, scrolling through the list of items here is done in the HD mode with slow screen refresh, and you can tell with the flickering, it's not a great experience. So that's much better on the Go 10.3. So if we have this one here, you can see this is really smooth. Even without switching an e-ink mode, because Boox has optimized the Android system much better for this kind of thing. But same for the for EPUB files and PDF files. That's not the main focus of this device, and I would actually like it to be a bit better. I think there are some good thoughts here, especially for EPUB files, with the paragraph spacing for better annotating. So that's a great implementation here. But I would like to have the option to change it. And you don't have many options here with ebooks, essentially. So that's one thing I don't like. And same goes for the PDF files. Let's open one real quick, which actually works okay for what it is. So you don't have special viewing modes, but you can pinch to zoom, which, as you said already, sometimes is a bit slow, but still works surprisingly well, especially with that zoom overview here. So that's actually not a bad solution, especially on the bigger screen. So on the A6X2, that takes up much more of the screen. So this one is actually a good experience, but still it's not the same great experience as with the different columns modes on the Boox Go 10.3. So I think the Boox 10.3, Go 10.3 is the better experience for PDF files. And my last point is, so I have to check what my last point was. Oh yeah, the missing front light I also mentioned with the Go 10.3. That's obviously also a thing here. I don't want to repeat what I said with the 10.3. That's all still true for the Supernote A5X. But adding to that, it's obviously the lower screen resolution. So that's one of the points. And the bit lower contrast. The contrast is not bad at all here. So the e-Encarta 1200 screen on the Boox Go 10.3 is better, but the Supernote A5X still has a good reliability with good contrast levels. But compared to the Go 10.3, it's not as good, simply because it's not using the latest technology. But I fully expect the Supernote A5X2 to be on par with the Go 10.3. Yeah, that's essentially it with my pros and cons for these two devices.
Amazing. Let's well, I personally think this is a incredible contest, and it's going to have to go to extra time, which is going to be looking through some of your kind of comments. Let's just pop like I did with mine. Let's just pop Khalid's points up on screen as well, just so we really can kind of make sure we've got a head around them. Love of the books, versatility in Android, lots of good points there. Battery life and screen clarity. But didn't like the pen attachment, palm rejection. I think that's a really good point, incidentally. It's something to kind of get used to. You pop the nib down first, then your palm, and you don't get the issues. But there is a bit of an issue with that. It is a minor thing. It doesn't happen all the time. And it happens more in other apps rather than their own apps, incidentally. And the missing front light, again, which can be put in the cons pile, of course. And yeah, minimalist setup and focus from Rata, writing feel and the ceramic tip. We discussed that at length, and continuous support. Yeah, absolutely. And the sustainability thing, a few people agreeing very much on that. Very much agree on the last point. Spent a lot of money on my Note Air 2 Plus less than 2 years ago, and it feels how old it is in terms of books releases. And that isn't the case with well, the A5X is still the current one, and it has been for the last sort of 4 years. And yeah, I think good discussion on the home screen. I think that they've got to do it in their own way, haven't they? They've got to make it make sense for their user interface rather than just stick a home screen on. So take your time on that, Rata. But I think more can be done with that swipe down from the bar, can't it? I suppose it is quite nice that you still sort of see a little bit of your note and you straight back into that same note, but you can still do something like that. And yeah, the reading app, bit of development on there to give you a better. It's not the one to choose if you're mainly reading on it, and you really made that point in your A6X2 review, which I thought was really clear, really good on that. And then again, it's the older technology, so you've got the lower contrast screen and the low resolution screen. And you do miss the front light if you want to use it for reading. And like you, if you're like you and you've been using e-readers for so long and evaluating them, and you're so used to the front lights, I'm sure that is quite Interesting voting so far, and the Boox Go 10.3 is well out ahead. We're almost up to 100 votes now. But interestingly, it started off like this, and then it shifted slightly towards the Rata. Sorry, it shifted a bit more towards the Go 10.3. We were up to about 80%, 20% a little while ago. So recent votes have actually gone for the Rata Supernote A5X a little bit more than they've gone for the Go 10.3. So it's increasing, and I think if you're a Rata fan in there, then you need to maybe do a little bit of convincing people to vote the opposite way than they have been. So we'll have your kind of comments and things at this point now, and because we're into extra time. This might even go to penalties. It's not looking that way, but you never know. So let's go back a few and just have a little look. Yeah, I think we got up to this point here, didn't we? And so yeah. Seeing a good number of broken screens on the Boox subreddit. Is it a problem for Supernotes? I mean, my first thoughts of that, Khalid, I don't know about yours, is, well, it's the same screen technology. So I think if it's a problem for one, it's going to be a problem for them all, really. Would you agree with that?
Maybe, yeah, yes and no. Generally, so I think, I'm not sure what the A5X2 will use, but this one, if I'm not mistaken, is using a flexible ink screen. That's not on a glass backplate. So this one is more robust than the screen on Boox devices usually.
So that's that's Mobius versus Carter.
Yeah? Exactly. Yeah.
If you see e-ink Mobius, it's got a plastic backing plate, and if you see Carter, it's glass, and glass is obviously more brittle than plastic is. So it's more likely to break if you're going for that. I don't know what the benefits of the glass is over the plastic one, mate. It just feels tougher, feels harder?
I think it's cheaper to produce, essentially. I think you can use maybe some LCD production sites with the glass backplate. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was one of the advantages of it. Don't quote me on it; it might be wrong, but if I remember correctly, that was one of the points. And it's cheaper. So the plastic, the Mobius screens are more expensive to make. Maybe it's a numbers thing, because not many devices use Mobius screens. But they never really overtook Carter screens in terms of numbers. So only very few devices have Pocketbook Inkpad X, Inkpad X Pro use Mobius as well, and not many other come to mind, to be honest.
If you wanted your e-ink to cover a curved surface, of course, you'd have to go for the plastic version. So that is, something that e-ink have always discussed, is their screens could be flexible and can bend, can bend around things, can shape to things. So that's why we've seen them on watches. We've seen them on watch straps, and now we see them plastered on the sides of cars and things like that. So they can do that, and I'm sure, foldable phones, foldable OLEDs exist. More foldable e-ink, I think, will be along in the future as well. So Carl says, yeah, I'm pretty tech savvy, but the options on Boox platform just aren't intuitive. So this is a sort of something to bolster the case of the Supernote, which does have a more of an intuitive operating system. It's not the world's most intuitive operating system. It's not quite the way that Apple would do it if they were to do it, but it is, it's certainly a less steeper learning curve. Yeah, exactly. And Carl, you're right to say you get there eventually, but you're always searching for the right button or center or setting. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I totally know that experience. And that can take you out of the flow. And if you're looking for just taking notes and writing, you want to stay in that flow for as long as possible. And David just really echoes that, really. The Neo Reader is really powerful, capable, but it's a bit of a UI mess. And you make it work, but you're constantly adjusting. You're constantly like, I can't quite read that, so I'll get out the e-ink center, move the slider, move the dark color enhancement, move the contrast to see the things.
But I think Boox is working on improvements here. So the last, if you look at this version and the last ones, you can see they are improving. Let me quickly
pop it up.
Show what I mean. So they have improved the text styling options actually, because those are much better than before. So the text styling options on the previous version of the user interface was much more cramped. You had more icons here. The spacing was much worse. So this is actually much better than before, and hopefully they will improve other points as well in the future.
Yeah, awesome. So current stance on the phoning home issue. I'll show this again then. So it's a few weeks old now, but great video. Another German speaker. I don't think he's Austrian, but I think he's from Germany. Tools on Tech. Really enjoyed it. This one here. Video. Does it phone home? Very much recommend scrolling down in my community feed there. Who is your Boox device talking to? I guess I could even go one better and ping that in the chat there as well. It's a good video to watch there. Good bit of analysis on what it's actually sending to. It's using Glasswire or Surfshark or whatever, some equivalent like that.
Wireshark, yeah.
Wireshark, yeah, that's the one. And you know, good channel as well. You know, really interesting stuff. And he's a Note A3C user, I think now. And he has some really nice stuff on his channel. So you might want to have a little look into that. I wonder if we're changing any of the votes here. We're up to 103 votes, yeah, and still Supernote climbing, but slowly there. Interestingly, I found the Supernote works slightly better with third-party pens. So let's have a little look at that. I was just digging around in my drawers. I don't know if anyone noticed to get out a third-party pen. Here we are, a third-party pen. Does the Supernote work a little bit better for third-party pens? I wonder. I don't know which particular app to test this out in, but I'm going to have a little go. I haven't got a Lamy with me. I couldn't find it. It's somewhere in my office. But here we are. And go to a Notes app on both. Yeah, that'll do. And just have a little look. So it's third-party pen. Certainly feels very accurate. I don't know if you've got a third-party pen there you could test out as well.
Yeah, I had just tried the Lamy pen, but honestly, I don't feel a difference.
I can't see a difference really. But I mean, if you've used it for a long time, I'm certainly willing to take your. Did you? Yeah. So you've done a similar thing there. There is the only real difference I've seen with third-party pens and first-party pens are with the pressure actuation point essentially, and the only device that seems any different to the others is the Remarkable. So I would actually personally, if I owned I do own a Remarkable. If that was the only pen, if it was the only tablet that I had was a Remarkable, I would stick with the Remarkable markers because I think that they are calibrated in terms of pressure levels more accurately. Although interestingly, I used to always use the Lamy, but with Remarkable nibs and the Remarkable One nibs, I used to use all the time. And I actually quite liked that, and so that was fine. So yeah, it was when I tried to use the Scribe pencil on the Remarkable I really noticed the difference, and the Boox certainly was not calibrated the same as the Remarkable marker was. Interesting. Solved the problem with the Go 10.3 magnetic pen cover by removing it completely and added a Supernote like loop. Yeah, have you seen this little hack as well? Yeah. Some people have added a little clip-on pen loop, just added it, stuck it on inside here, got rid of the attachment altogether, and just stuck it on essentially inside this little flap here, and then the pen can just sheath in like that. And of course, you can use a Lamy or anything like that as well to do that. So definitely a good use. It's an interesting one. If the writing feel was halfway decent for Boox, I'd go for it. You know, I'm familiar with the kind of thinking that in terms of writing feel, you've got Sony DPTs right up here, the Rata sort of ever so slightly beneath that, and then maybe you put remarkable slightly higher than Boox and everything else. You know, I think Boox, but generally, once you get beyond a certain level, I think I would describe most of the main tablets as having a decent, certainly a half decent writing feel. But yeah, I can hear you. Certainly, if you are the type of person that refuses to write without a premium pen, then you want to go with the Supernote. Really, it's a great writing feel, and I don't love the Boox writing feel, but I don't have problems with using it either. Anything to add about that one, Khaled?
No, I agree. I think it's fine. I don't like that pen, especially the pen itself. The writing feel, I think, is fine. The latency on Boox devices is a bit different from device to device. So the BSR devices have better pen latency, so that might add to a better writing feel. This one is a bit on the slower side.
Yeah, Voya's obviously just
not
produces
slow,
10.3.
not slow, but slower.
No, yeah, that's right. Voya's just produces 10.3, and obviously he does his very excellent test. That's the best sort of comparison data that we've got for these things, really. And he puts it at, I think, sort of 0.38 or something around there, which isn't anywhere near the best, but it is still perfectly fine, and something that when you're using it without having it side by side something else, when you're using it like that, you're not going to notice that latency and be annoyed by that latency in the slightest. What was our voting? Interesting one. So should we do out of these two? What's your voting out of these two right now, Khaled?
I have to go for the Boox Go 10.3. This is really an incredibly well-made device. All things considered, it's not perfect. None of the devices are. But this is really, really well made, and I really like using it. So the A5X, you can see it's a bit on the older side from the build. So it's a bit thicker. It's a bit it has a lower contrast. It's a bit slower. So I have to go for the Go 10.3.
What would have been your vote for the whole entire championship then?
That's a more difficult question. I can't say, to be honest. I think it depends too much on the use case. So one device is better as an all-rounder, another one is better as a note taker. So I'm not sure if I can name one as an overall winner, to be honest. What's yours? Oh, I think Kit's dropped from the stream. Let's go back up and see one of the next questions. Maybe he can follow up on his voting when he comes back. So yeah, essentially the Boox Go 10.3, I think, wins this round also when looking at voting on Kit's channel and the community post. And I think that's fair since the A5X2 is not out yet. So let's see the next one. Color ink is still 2 to 3 years out due to terrible battery life. I think one of the main reasons for the bad battery life is the Boox Super Refresh technology. So that's one of the main reasons the recent Boox devices have bad battery life. And I think it's not only so. The main difference to the Go 10.3 is here it depends much more on the application. So if you're reading, it doesn't need much power. If you're using Android apps, it draws more energy. That's a bit different on BSR devices. So those draw more energy in general, and you don't notice apps and more complex use cases as much in battery life. So essentially, battery life is lower in general with color ink and BSR devices. That's definitely, it's a trade-off, because BSR devices with the Boox Go technology offer more flexibility, even more flexibility than the Go 10.3. But I think it was a smart choice to not include it here on the Go 10.3, simply because I think as a note-taking device, this needs to have the best battery life possible, and that's the case here.
I had a power cut.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I just continued. Maybe let's go back to the question. What's your voting?
Oh yes, yeah, of these two for sure. Yeah, the Go 10.3. Yeah, right now. But every time I go back to the Supernote, I think to myself, there's a reason why this is so popular. And yeah, every time I'm kind of, I think to myself, well, I could just use this and I'd be really happy with this, and that would be a neat, a neat thing. That would be that would be a neat place to keep all my notes, really. So yeah, that's what I think there. Good. Thanks very much for carrying on, and let's carry on.
Yeah, I answered the next two questions with battery life and
Cool.
A5X2. So which one won? Is it complicated?
Yeah, well, it's certainly seeming, isn't it? I'm just getting the tab back up with the community tab, but you can go there and you can see the community tab there. And I think we're certainly going towards crowning currently the best as picked by you guys. Importantly, as picked by not me, not Khalid, as picked by you guys, the best being the 10.3. So let's have a look. I don't think there's going to be a last minute swing here. It is pretty strongly towards the Go 10.3. So that's I think it is complicated. I think it's the personal choice, isn't it, that makes it the complicated thing. I think for different people, there's a different winner. And yeah, I always make a kind of a list, the top 10 e-ink tablets. It's a sort of useful video to have, at any given time. These are where I think, and it's going to be difficult to suggest anything apart from the Go 10.3 right now at the very top. Personally, I think the Tab Ultra C Pro is right up there. I think it is objectively the best e-ink tablet that there is, but that's because it's got more. But I think it's the subjective things that mean that for most people it is not, and it lost to the Note Air 3C. And yeah, I'll pop this up just a bit bigger so we can sort of see it. It's complicated because, well, we've had 2 weeks of discussing these tablets and having these votes, and you can go back through and see them on my channel all the way through. And there'd be a case for saying this one 13.3 inch tablet, this is the best, but this one got beaten by, this is the Tab X, this one got beaten by the Go 10.3 in the very first round, by your votes, importantly, in the audience. So yeah, it is complicated. I think that's a fascinating thing. And I think what we're seeing, somebody else had a really nice point here about why it is that black and white paper screens are winning. I'm just trying to find it now. Oh yeah, yeah, you just talked about it. The color ink is 2 to 3 years out due to battery life. That's why you're seeing the black and white tablets get all the votes. Yeah, so color e-ink screens haven't beaten the black and white paper-like screens tablets. So I think that is fascinating, and it does make it a bit more complicated. Maybe it is at first glance.
Maybe just one more thing to add, because I talked about BSR being the reason for color ink having worse battery life. One more thing is color ink, or at least ink Kaleido, needs more computing power. So it's I think rendering images on ink Kaleido is more intensive on the CPU and therefore needs more energy. So that's one of the reasons as well.
That's right. Yeah, I don't think it's only the BSR. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it's also just the case with color e-ink. I haven't seen a color e-ink tablet blow me away with battery life Yeah,
No,
and I've tested
definitely.
a few with and without BSR. Cool. Don't know the whole thick border on the A5X. Looking at the looking at the A6X2, it's still there. So will the A5X2 have that also, right? Yeah, I think so. I think you just pulled that out, didn't you, Khaled? So let's have a little look.
Yeah, I think. I mean, those on the sides aren't as wide, I think. So there's not a big difference to the 10.3 in my opinion. It's harder to see because of the color, maybe. So maybe that's one of the reasons. But still, I think this is fine. And this one obviously is a bit larger, but I think they went for the symmetrical look here. So in my opinion, I like it. I think it's fine, especially holding it. I often hold it like this and then write by just putting it down on the desk and lean it on the desk. So I think that's fine. If it were any smaller, I think it would interfere more with the touch screen. Right now, as it is, actually, I have sometimes problems with triggering the sidebar when holding it like this. Hopefully, this will be better on the A5X2 because it's larger and you don't have to touch the sidebar as much. But still, I think, to be honest.
Yeah, no, one thing I was just thinking as we were talking in the last little section is, you know, the fact that the A5X2 has got this, the A5X has got this far in the tournament, you know, and eventually come up against the latest release that everyone's very excited about. Think what the A5X2 is going to do. You know, that's going to be incredible for people. People are going to be really blown away and really excited about the device. And then think about what an A4X could do. And yes, somebody asked in here, S Delta asked, are these like the same as the A numbers for paper? Yeah, absolutely they are. It's a sensible naming scheme because, you know, if I tell you this is an A4 device, because it basically is, then, you know, that's a better naming scheme for me who understands those paper names perfectly well. That's a better naming scheme for understanding that rather than saying a 13.3 inch device. So yes, absolutely. And now if they're going to release an A4X or an A4X, then that all of a sudden can really be the big paper-like of choice, really. And I think that's going to be really exciting once we get all those releases to do something similar in the future, and maybe sort of seed them a little bit and think about not comparing apples with pears so often, but really to think about, well, what do you guys think? As en masse, you know, what are the preferences? Because en masse, it's come out that you like the paper-like thing, and that you like the full Android, and you like the Boox platform more than this current iteration of Supernote. Okay. Yeah. Let's have a little think about a couple of things. Like to see the same link functionality copied over to PDFs and EPUBs on the Supernote. Totally agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the T's prototype picture, the breadth and width of the A5X2 and A5X are similar, yeah. So the border is likely to, and yeah, they'll need a bit of space on both sides for the sidebar, so totally agree with that one as well. People with bias for the Supernote, yeah, but it seems that there's enough people that are a bit biased towards Boox as well. Most of the screen damage are user caused. Yeah, this is when we're talking about the robust nature of the screen. The Supernote is the super robust one. Yeah, there's certainly my ink tablets. My ink tablets take a bit of a, you know, I don't purposefully damage them, obviously, but I have dropped them. I've skated them. They've bounced, and I haven't had one e-ink screen fail on me. Have you ever had an e-ink screen fail on you?
One actually, but I have used many devices. So one is only, I'd say, 1% of my devices.
Yeah, it's not bad.
And actually, I dropped the A6X2 a couple of down a couple of steps, and it survived without any problems. So the screen is not didn't break, and only got a few scratches on the back of the cover. So
yes, you mentioned in the review. Yeah.
well, usually you shouldn't do that, but still, it survived.
It's like toast. They land e-ink side up. Okay.
Hopefully, I'm not sure if that was
We
the
have a
case.
we have a saying. I don't know if you have this. Is this an international saying? Like toast always lands butter side up.
Yeah, I know what you
You
mean.
know. Okay, so where are we up to? I just want 2 pages in horizontal view on a notebook. I can find that option in Near Reader. It doesn't seem to exist in Notes. Now you can't have 2 instances of Notebook open at the same time. So you have to have and that's in Books. You have to have a PDF essentially. So you'd have to have a PDF which was like a notebook for you, if you like. Which I think that would be a workaround there, Lizzie. Is just to have one PDF which you annotated and treat that like a notebook, and then you can have your two notebooks. And to be fair, they're close enough in terms of their use. You've got enough note-taking features in a PDF to get away with that like that. Cool. Let's just have a few more moments then, and then we'll sort of do penalties, because that's just a bit of fun. Maybe the stiffer aluminium frame on the Go 10.3 and RM2 transfers shock impact easier to the glass and the screen than the Supernote. Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah, I see if some people, but it tends to be the type of sort of accident that will damage a screen that's happened to them rather than just everyday use. Absolutely agree with Lizzie. Personal preference, tips you put in your stylus. You got options. Yep, Boox too hard. Stadler are definitely too soft. Scribe pen tips are good as well, and then you can have aluminium ones as well. So we will see. And that's the point, JK. Yeah, the A5X2 with faster SoC, new screen, would it win? I think we'd still be comparing the user interfaces more at that point. So it would be a case of, Khalid's point, the versatility of Android. And yes, you can sideload in apps now on Supernote, but then you don't have Google Play Protect on them, and you don't have the automatic updates. So I think that there's that. I think that Boox will have that upper hand from there. Does that make sense? I think Boox giving you the versatility, if you want that versatility. And here's, I often get into, do you want that versatility or do you want that bespoke? It's just a notebook. You have to decide. So just like with Lizzie's point, the personal preference, I hope this is helping you make a choice, what's right for you. If you want the versatility, and like Carl says, you can usually get it done with Boox, but it takes you a while digging around in a menu, and you get there in the end. Do you want that, or do you want something which is like, oh great, I just circle it and it goes into my to-do list? That's the thing. You can't do everything there, so you've got to choose that versatility, or you've got to choose that that use case, that set pathway. If you want that set pathway to use, you can stick with that. I've got to ask, when I was frozen just there, so yeah, one of my circuit breakers went. I think. What was it? What position was I in? I'm often wondering, was I like? Oh.
No, I didn't actually. I think it looked like you were in the middle of just wanted to say something.
Okay.
I didn't even notice at first, and waited for your response, but you didn't say anything.
Yeah, constantly about to interrupt. Yeah, I'd love to try more pocketbooks. It's really interesting that the pocketbook have bought a little slice of Big Me. I'm really interested to see where that will go in the future. Fascinating. The InkPad color free is InkPad, great reader, really. Boox released in April an excluded version of an Air Free on the Chinese market called X3 Pro. Carter 12,000 screen. Yeah. So exactly, that's what I think will be the Air Free.
Yeah, I agree.
Air Free
Air
Plus.
Free Plus. Yeah, definitely.
Disagree with Chris. I don't think battery life is a reason for people to stick with black and white. Eye strain from the brightness and not looking like paper yet. Yeah, absolutely, Lizzie. It's definitely a stopgap. The current color e-ink is definitely a stopgap. I hope. I mean, my dream scenario, and this is total speculation, would be that Apple are working with e-ink right now to develop some exclusive kind of e-paper product, which is going to have the most incredible thing, and they'll they'll work with them to the point where they'll be allowed to call it Apple paper, and it will be an incredible, it won't be an e-ink iPad. I think that they will make something ludicrously thin, and it'd be like, we've just invented e-paper, everyone, and that's what they'll. I just hope that's a possibility. So I think that that where color ink could go with a bit of, not a bit, but a lot of like work, it could be something that's incredible, like just be your little note-taking sketchbook with proper CMYK, proper e-ink pods. Like there's got to be something they can do with the kind of might of both of those companies working together to an end. And I think that someone will say, well, no, that's not the way Apple are going. Apple are going for Vision Pro. They're going for immersion. And I don't think that the two are like exclusive. I think that they recognize that there are times when you want to work in a immersive, or not work, or at work or play, whichever. You want to be in an immersive environment. And there's times when you want to be working with a piece of paper, that those two things aren't going away. They're not mutually exclusive. One of them is not going to win. You will want 2 hours a day in your VR goggles, maybe, but you'll want a lovely reading session at the end of the day to reset yourself down into getting ready for bed. So I don't think Apple need to decide one side of those. I think that they're more looking for giving you more things into your whole tech experience, if that makes sense. And I think e-paper is definitely part of that. It certainly is for me. Fascinating. Yeah, we're definitely looking at 2 different generations. Yeah, totally current and 4 years old. Color ink, yeah, needs more front light again, which is the reason why the energy gets sapped on color ink as well. Never used Note F3, but why would you go for a Go 10.3 instead of a Note F3? The 300 ppi and the closeness of the e-ink to the top of the paper, essentially, and also less heavy, thinner, and cheaper as well.
Yeah, so haptics. I think haptics are also better on the Go 10.3. Not bad on the Note Air, but still better here.
Yeah, so the way it feels when you're writing on it, yeah. Yeah, and it is a bit odd, isn't it? And again, this is why the Note Air 3 Plus will probably be in that kind of 450 bracket, I suppose, and be therefore quite a bit more expensive than the Go 10.3 because it'll gain the 300 ppi. Not sure which tip we're talking about there, but thanks anyway. Okay, iPaper. No, I think they'll call it Apple paper rather than iPaper. I don't know why. I think that, and so would I, Rad, as well. I'm not a huge Apple person by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not an iPhone person, but Apple make the best iPads, and it's a little joke. But they do. They honestly the best like LCD tablets are Apple, and I think they would make a really. The thing is, I think they'd do a fantastic job of all of these things. I think they'd get the look and feel of it right. So they get the aesthetics right. Obviously, they're the best of that. There's no disputing that. They'd get the pen input right. They'd get the user experience right. They wouldn't just make it, oh, you can install any Android app. They'd work with really good app developers to get you a good range of apps, but also make sure it was a really bespoke, the Apple apps that were on there straight away would work really well. And of course, they'd all sync in with all your iCloud things as well. I think they would just do all of the kind of things that we've said pros. Yeah, exactly. They'd get the software right, wouldn't they?
Just one thing they don't get right is the price.
Yeah, for sure. It'd be ridiculous, but I'd still, again, I'd still go for it because I think they would do a fantastic job.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think they'll go in for it while it's Kaleido free, while it's got all its flaws. I think they'll go in for it when it's, and I think they won't have a USB-C charger on it. It'll be too thin for that, though. So they'll be like, you have to have MagSafe accessories. But they'll maybe even sell a desk in a couple of years' time, which is like 20 grand worth of desk or something, because it can charge your devices or something along this lines.
But
Interesting.
did you have a look? Did you have a look at the iPad Pro?
Yeah.
With the nano edge glass. I think that's 2,000 euros.
2,000 minimum. Yeah, exactly.
Because you have to go for the larger storage option and then pay on top for the nano edge glass. I think 2,000. It's crazy.
Yeah, and they're going for that ultra thin and light. But when they talk about ultra thin and light iPad, they talk about a sheet of glass in your hands. Whereas people who talk about e-ink tablets don't want a sheet of glass in their hands; they want a sheet of paper in their hands, or they want, like a thin and light notepad feel in their hand. And so they certainly aren't currently. The iPad isn't going towards that. The iPad is going towards being your everything device that you can carry around and not even think about it being there. Whereas the Mac's going towards being a studio device, and then this Apple paper would sort of take some of that. It would be your sketchbook, it would be your note taker, it would be your reader, it would be all those, all those things. Fascinating. Total speculation. Yeah, your USB-C has to be too thick in just a few years' time, isn't it? Latest announcement from Supernote. Maybe August. Was that just today, Red? Is that? I haven't seen that one yet. Interesting. So cool. Let's do penalties, and then that's us, I think. So we'll just check in one time. We're going to crown the winner now. But even though it's not for, even though it's not for, even though it's not necessary, because I think we have got a absolute winner here. But let's just do our planned little penalties that we thought of. So here we go. We've got some quick fire categories. We've got 4 of them. So you tell us in the audience, who do you think wins this one? So resolution. So the screen resolution. Who's the winner of that one? It's going to be easy, isn't it?
I think that's easy.
Okay, so that's 1-0 to Boox there. It's got, out of these two, it's got the higher resolution, but the A5X2 will have that 300 ppi screen as well.
Right.
Software. What do you think? Which way has that got to go? I think you're probably that little bit behind in the chat that you're not going to be able to suddenly get it, but put it in there if you get it. Which one wins the software? I think I'd say Rata wins that software. Would you agree with me there?
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
The form factor is coming home. It didn't come home on Sunday, but for some of you guys, it's coming home tonight. The form factor out of these two.
Yeah, I think that's also clear, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's clearly Boox. Yeah, I think they've really got it right this time.
Yes, definitely.
They've gone for that world's finished. I personally don't think it'll be world's finished for long. I think that Remarkable will not let them have that bit of marketing for very long at all. So I think that, and I think the Boox for form factor currently, I think this is the most attractive e-ink device, bar none. Well, maybe the A6X2 could give it a run for the money there. And then for writing feel, what do you think? I'm definitely leaning towards the Rata for that one. Certainly, this is the superlative writing feel for me. So that would be 2-2. So okay, finally, your votes are the ones that matter in this year's Euro 2024 for e-ink tablets. I haven't shared my other screen again yet. Supernote, yeah, the Boox is gorgeous. Everyone asks about it. Yeah, absolutely, they do. So here we are. Again, look, the Rata is climbing up, but it's climbing up a couple of percentage points at a time. But it's sort of 7 goals to 3 there, isn't it? Really, that's the sort of split we're looking at. I think we've got to crown the winner here. Is the Boox Go 10.3. It certainly is right now. Certainly is. It's the the tablet on everyone's lips, isn't it? It's the tablet everyone's talking about. It certainly is right now. It's the tablet that is the most popular tablet right now, and for very good reason. So no, because neither of us are on Apple. So because you can do that thing in the Apple camera, can't you, where you clap or something like that, or you say congratulations and the confetti falls.
Oh,
I should have.
I don't know actually.
We should have had something more to celebrate, absolutely. But there we go. Can you all do some confetti emojis, everybody, for the winner here? The Go 10.3. Books is my bay. If I was a writer, Supernote would be for me. Yeah, absolutely. Equally great, just different. Yeah, that's really good. Like it a lot. Yeah, interesting. These the gentleman, what channel that is, by the way. Jerry Rig Everything. Like he has ripped apart a couple of Boox devices actually. So go ahead and look over there if you're interested. Well done. There we are. We've got some confetti. Here's what you pay the extra for. Thanks, Khaled, for joining me. Thanks so much to you all for like following this bit of fun for a summer, kind of, just to celebrate comparing e-ink tablets, which is seems to be which I'm really glad about, that it's a popular thing to do, just to sit and chill out and talk about e-ink devices. And yeah, well done to all the devices in this year's tournament, and I will see you again real soon. And thanks everyone who joined on Khaled's channel as well. So
Thanks.
cheers. Thanks so much, everybody.